Meantime, tensions are rising in the Middle East as fear grows that Israel's attack on Iran could set off a powder keg in the region. Today's strike comes just one day after the United Nations Secretary General urged all parties to exercise, quote, maximum restraint to prevent the conflict from igniting a wider war. Quote, one miscalculation, one miscommunication, one mistake could lead to the unthinkable, a full-scale regional conflict that would be devastating for all involved and for the rest of the world. Joining us now, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, retired Admiral James Stavridis. Admiral, how much more serious could this get? Would you expect Iran to strike back?
I would not at this point. So we can have just a little bit of good news, if you will. Let's do the numbers for a minute here. Iran launched 350 cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and drones. From all the reporting I'm seeing, Israel responded with less than 10. So that's a very significant moderation, and it kind of puts us on a path toward de-escalation. And secondly, listen to the statements coming out of both Tehran and out of Jerusalem. Both sides are effectively saying, okay, we've had enough of this kind of overt exchange of combat ordnance. Now maybe we go back to the shadow war that we were in. But bottom line, I think there's an 80 to 90% chance we've seen the worst of the overt combat. Probably we're going to see tensions de-escalate between Israel and Iran. And at that point, of course, we'll have to go back to dealing with the challenges in Gaza.
De-escalating, that sounds very encouraging. What do you make of Israel's choice to strike near a nuclear facility?
I think justified as follows. The signal they sought to send to Tehran was, we know where your sites are. We can get our drones or cruise missiles. We're not sure which they used as yet. We can get in your house when we want to. This time, we didn't choose to break anything in the house. Next time, we might. Again, it's a signal sent. I think signal received. Let me add one other thought that's less comforting. If you're worried about an escalation, I'll give you three things to watch. One is Hezbollah to the north of Israel has 100,000 surface-to-surface missiles. Number two, watch the sea. If either Iran or Israel go after each other's ships, that would be a significant escalation. And then thirdly, you can't see it physically, but cyber could be another realm where these two nations engage. So we're not out of the woods yet, but I'm more hopeful than I was 48 hours ago.
As you mentioned, it seems like all sides are sort of holding back from saying a whole lot this morning, which is in some ways encouraging because they're not immediately firing up a response and rhetoric that would escalate. However, what do you think is happening behind the scenes to try to prevent this from escalating?
Well, first and foremost, the Biden administration, I think, has done a good job here of constantly talking to our partners in Israel and counseling them to take a very measured approach. Second, you heard already, you read the news on the Secretary General of the United Nations, I think is working back channel on both sides of this. And finally, in the Arab world, I suspect there are signals going to Iran from the Arab world and to Israel from the Arab world, saying to both sides, we've got to dial this down. Don't forget, the Iranians are Persians, not Arabs. And so the Arabs find themselves kind of between Israel and Iran. That's an uncomfortable place when cruise missiles are going over your head.
Admiral James Stavridis, as always, thank you so much for joining us.
You bet.